Good evening, everyone. I'll call the April 27th, 2023 meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're asking for any public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Would anyone like to speak on anything on the agenda this evening? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from our April 11th regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dan.
Sorry. I'll second.
Okay, call for a vote. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Approval of the bills. We have some bills we need to approve here. Any questions or comments on the bills?
None here. I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, we have our first quarter 2023 financial presentation from our treasurer. Mark?
Thank you. This is the lazy man's way of doing this. Sit down here, I don't have to get up front. I like it. All right, let's get started here. In comparison, we're running a little bit heavy on the real estate revenue relative to the budget and running a little bit behind for things like charges for services and let's see, what's the purple one? The other taxes. And none of those are of concern at this point. If we look at how we were last year, the real estate taxes made up a bigger chunk, but we've actually received more in real estate taxes this year than last year. So we're actually a little bit ahead of that. And we're also a little bit ahead on the other taxes. We've started off pretty strong in the real estate transfer tax and also in the earned income tax. We look at year-to-date expenses. They're pretty much all on target at this point. We're actually running a little bit below budget in terms of expenses, and that's a good thing. We want to start off that way. The relative percentages look a little bit wonky, but and the only one that's over budget right now is planning, and that's because they've had an unfortunate experience in their health insurance, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Comparison to last year, we're looking pretty much so the same year over year. We're running a little bit lighter on the Public Works and a little bit heavier on the planning. We look at selected expenses. You can see pretty much everything is to the good on the admin side. Salaries would be expected. There were no hires in the budget that we would have to account for. Health insurance is running slightly good for admin. The other benefits go hand in hand with the salaries, and even legal's running good, to the good. Planning, their salaries are actually running good. That's because there is a vacancy, which will soon be filled in the for the engineer. The health insurance, we're getting killed. There are a couple of employees that have some serious health issues, and the insurance is covering it. It shouldn't increase too much more because we do have stop loss for starting at $105,000. So I would expect that these two employees have probably reached that limit. So we should see that stabilize as we go forward. Public safety is running favorable except for the contribution to fire departments, and that's because we agreed to buy ambulances for MPS, and that was just under, $300,000. So that'll stabilize because that expense is a one-time deal in that quarter. Public Works is running favorable except for the snow removal expense, but that's because we get a very small allocation, so a quarter of the budget. And we get all the snow either in the first quarter or the fourth quarter, so that'll stabilize as we go forward. Community relations and sustainability is running favorable in part because their salaries are going to start ramping up now that Mill Fair is opening. They didn't incur much in salary expense. Parks and Rec, same kind of story as well. Their summer help will boost their payroll for the summer months. They're running slightly to good on health insurance and slightly to good on the other benefits. The fire tax fund, we're actually running a little bit ahead of budget. That's due to good collections. We've had no expenses except for a commitment for a vehicle for the fire chief. And that, once again, it's a allocation of the budget and with a one-time non-recurring expense. So that'll recover as we go forward. So revenue, we're running a little bit to the good relative to budget and revenue. We're doing much better relative to the budget for expenses, operating expenses. Admin's running slightly to the good. We had expected to have revenue below the expenses, but we're running, because we're running a little bit ahead on revenue and a little bit under on expenses, we're not doing quite as badly as we had anticipated. You can see we're roughly $46,000 to the good on revenue. We're about $35,000 to the good on wages. We've been lucky so far this year. Start of the year, we're running about $50,000 to the good on maintenance and repair, and running a little bit behind on utilities. We're running a little bit ahead on the expense for the sewer improvements, but that's a good thing. We're getting those done and getting them out of the way, and a little bit behind on the machinery and equipment. And that's in part because some of the equipment that they have on order just takes forever to get here. And fire tax fund, we talked about that a little bit before. Nothing to compare to last year. We're running a little bit ahead on revenue for the relative to the budget, and we haven't incurred any expenses other than the capital. So it's a good start for that, except we just don't have the people we really need. In terms of capital plan, we had planned about $19 million worth of capital. We've committed just under $6 million, so that means we've got about $13 million uncommitted. Questions?
Any questions?
None here, Marty.
None here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay, next up, we have a public hearing on a small subdivision plan. It's a replot of lands for Tammy and William Bauman. Small subdivision plan, a subdivision plan to show the creation of a 3,238 square foot lot, parcel A, resulting in a 1.85 acre residual lot for 3828 Edgebrook Drive. Parcel A is to become an integral part of 3846 Edgebrook Way, resulting in a new acreage of 0.69 acres along the west line of Edgebrook Way, south of West 38th Street in Tract 309. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you very much. Good evening. At their regular meeting of Tuesday, April 4th, 2023, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission recommended approval of this subdivision.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We'll open the hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this small subdivision plan? Sir, if you come up to the podium and state your name and address and sign. Is there a place to sign in there, Cheryl? Okay, if you could sign in.
Sure.
And then Thank you.
Name's Wade Brink, 3846 Edgebrook Way, the one receiving the plot of land. Do you have any questions?
No, we have our map in front of us.
I don't have any questions.
No.
No questions here.
No. Thank you. Anyone else to speak on this? Okay. Hearing none, I'll close the hearing and ask for a motion on this small subdivision plan.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, next up, we have a public hearing on a conditional use request. The Erie Humane Society for property located at 2433 Zimmerly Road to install a crematory as an accessory use in the MU2 Corridor Mixed-Use District. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, because we don't have these very often, I'll review the process that needs to be followed as part of this hearing. The procedure is such that, when the hearing opens, the township presents the information and the request and the planning commission recommendation. The person seeking the condition then must present their position. Any member of the public may testify, and then once the hearing is closed, the supervisors then vote on the conditional use. The standards that you are to follow is that an applicant is entitled to a conditional use as a matter of right unless it is determined that the use does not satisfy the specific objective criteria in the zoning ordinance for that conditional use. The applicant bears the burden of establishing that the proposed conditional use satisfies that criteria. The board acts as a fact finder where the board makes credibility determinations and weighs the evidence. If the board is persuaded that the application complies with the zoning ordinance, a presumption arises that the proposed use is consistent with the general welfare of the community. The burden then shifts to any objectors to rebut that presumption by proving that there's a high degree of probability that the proposed use will adversely affect the welfare of the community in a way not normally expected by this type of use. Mere speculation is not sufficient, and effectively a conditional use application must be granted unless there's sufficient evidence presented that the proposed use has a detrimental effect on the public health, safety, and welfare. So those are the standards by which you apply, and at this point, I would recommend that the hearing be opened and turned over to Mr. Waldinger to present the issue that's before you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Waldinger?
Thank you very much. Section 145.22E1 of the zoning ordinance provides that crematories are accessory uses permitted by conditional use in the MU2 district. There are 3 conditions for the use: that the use of the property must be a legal use, and in this case it is. 2, that the applicant must demonstrate that all requirements of the supplemental regulations, section 145-52, are met. I'll review those in a moment. And then 3, the supervisors may, in their discretion, attach such reasonable safeguards as it may deem necessary to implement the purposes of the zoning ordinance. Regarding condition number 2, the applicant has submitted a very thorough packet of information containing all the required documentation, and I know that the applicant has professionals here who will likely speak more to some of these specific items. Right now, I will give you a quick rundown, though, of the requirements and how the applicant proposes to meet them. So under crematory, section 145.52, the first A requirement is a business established for cremation of human or animal remains shall be located on property of not less than 1 acre. And in response, this parcel contains, the parcel containing the proposed crematory is listed as 2.54 acres. The crematory cannot be constructed closer than 750 feet from an existing dwelling, public or private school, or daycare center. All other district setbacks from property lines shall also be maintained. It does meet all district setbacks, but at the March 29th, 2023 Millcreek Township Zoning Hearing Board meeting, the applicant was granted a variance from the 750-foot requirement. Under C, emission standards, the crematory shall comply with all federal and state air emission standards, and the applicant has provided sufficient documentation to the township that the facility meets air emission standards. I am sure that the applicant's representatives can give the board further details on that upon request. D, emission control devices. The crematory shall be equipped with all emission control devices required by federal and state law, and shall be operated in accordance with manufacturer's standards and in compliance with all federal and state emission permits. Documentation of compliance has been provided by the manufacturer. I'm going to go through 4 different ones here, beginning with E, continuous emission monitoring. The crematory shall be equipped with all required continuous emission monitoring equipment, which shall be operated in accordance with the manufacturer's standards and in compliance with all federal and state air emission permits, including all record-keeping requirements. F, all costs for monitoring shall be borne by the applicant. All operating, monitoring, and control equipment are subject to inspection at any time by the township following an occurrence of emission limit exceedance. G, emission performance testing. The crematory shall conduct initial performance testing as required by all federal and state air emission permits. And H, hours of operation. Operating hours shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. At previous meetings, the applicant spoke to how these requirements and obligations would be met going forward, and I would ask that they address these 4 items tonight for the benefit of the Board of Supervisors. I, the cremation unit shall be totally enclosed within a building, and the proposed unit is planned to be completely enclosed in a structure according to plans and drawings submitted. Again, I'll combine 2. J, the crematory owner-operator shall provide the township with copies of all certifications necessary to operate the crematory. And K, the crematory operator-owner shall provide, prior to issuance of a building permit, a copy of any required federal or state permits. In addition, the crematory shall be operated in conformance with all local, state, and federal laws. The applicant has pledged to provide all certifications and permits necessary during operation of the crematory. L, a crematory may provide a room or rooms for the private viewing of the cremation by members of the deceased family, but may not be used to conduct public or private funeral home services. The applicant has indicated that the existing clinic on the property has a bereavement space for family consultation and has no plans or space to provide funeral home services. And finally, condition M, any additional standards or operational requirements that are needed to protect the public health, safety, and welfare, or to address unique characteristics of a site as defined by the Township Board of Supervisors, shall be complied with by the landowner and/or developer and crematory owner and operator. The applicant has stated their willingness to comply with any additional requirements deemed necessary by the board. I do want to also add that at the regular meeting of Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, the Millcreek Township Planning Commission did recommend approval of this conditional use.
Thank you, Matt.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add, many of these standards and with respect to admissions are obviously not promulgated by the township and typically are promulgated by either the federal or the state and are enforced by those. But for the purposes of the grant of a conditional use, it's appropriate to make those obviously as, conditions that they comply with all of those, so that it just gives an extra measure of enforcement ability from the township's perspective to ensure that compliance is met. I would suggest that once the hearing is concluded, that paragraphs C, D, E, F, G, H, J, and K be actually enumerated as conditions to the approval of the conditional use, because those are the provisions that deal with those standards and the kind of conduct that not only do they just have to meet it at the time that you grant the conditional use, but they're kind of continuing obligations.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that explanation, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Okay, continuing with the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this request?
Hi, I'm Jenna Druzak. I'm a principal and architect with Weber Murphy Fox here representing the Humane Society today. And I think we've gone through kind of our listing, but what I want to make clear is that the Erie Humane Society already operates a cremation unit out of their existing shelter, which is immediately adjacent to the property that we're discussing today. So I think particularly mentioned to some of the regulations, both state and federal, they're very familiar with that process already. We've provided their existing permits both through the Department of Environmental Protection and the Department of Agriculture that show that they are in compliance, and they do the annual inspections. So I do want to make it, let everybody know that this is a process they understand. It's not a new service that they are providing today. And I think just that was kind of covering some of the items that we discussed. Item E, F, in terms of costs, we do want to make it clear that they have secured funding. We do have funding for this unit. They are well aware of the cost and are ready to proceed once we have authorization kind of through the township for this project. Emissions testing and performance. We've provided documentation from the manufacturer that I think is very clear in showing opacity levels. I think that's one of the more sensitive subjects with something like this, what the smoke looks like coming out of the unit. In most instances, it's nearly transparent, but it has to be under 30%. These units are well under that. So we do have documentation that we have provided from the manufacturer kind of stating that compliance, along with testing, all UL testing, and again, testing with all federal standards. I think that goes into item G as it goes with the emission performance testing. And then I think the other item we were asked to comment upon was hours of operation. We are allowed to operate between 7 and 7. We would like to operate 8 a.m. through 4 p.m., which are within those hours, so standard kind of business hours.
So when people come to you and they say, you want to install a crematorium, you probably go, why? So I'm going to just touch on that. So the Erie Humane Society, we've operated our current crematorium that's in our shelter, as Jenna mentioned, for about 20 years. And throughout the 20-year period, there was a pet crematorium in Waterford, and then the Burton's Funeral Home also operated a pet crematorium. Burton's and the one in Waterford closed between 2021 and 2022. So January 5th of 2022, myself and Rob Lewis, who actually, he takes care of our crematorium now. So he's very well versed. He's worked for the organization for about 16 and a half years. We got a phone call saying that Burton's Funeral Homes was no longer able to do pet cremations here in Erie anymore. There was a fire. They were no longer going to be able to cremate somebody's pet. That leaves the Erie Humane Society. We are the only local pet crematorium in all of Erie County. That to me is very sad, because if you love your animals and you have to make a really tough decision and you are going to your vet hospital and they say, little Fluffy, it's end of life, you don't want your pet going on a semi-truck over to Ohio to be cremated. And what's happening right now is we only have one crematorium, and we're only able to accommodate maybe 5 other vet hospitals, and then we do our own private cremations for people that use our clinic. So there are about 20 other vet hospitals in Erie that are contracted with Regency in Ohio, and they are looking to develop relationships with the Erie Humane Society. This does a number of things for us. It provides a local trusted option to our community members. It keeps money in Erie, but it also supports us as a nonprofit organization. And during COVID, we struggled a lot. So we were looking at some other business revenue streams, and when this came to our plate, we said, this is a very, very important thing for community members, and this is part of what we do as an organization. We see pets at the beginning of life, and we help with pets at end of life. So we are very responsible in understanding what all the conditional uses are, and that we will do our absolute best and be as professional as we always have been, and make sure that we're doing everything that Millcreek Township wants. We're just wanting to help the community a little bit more.
Thank you, Nicole.
Do you have any questions for us?
Just a real quick question on your hours of operation. You're going to operate from 8 to 4. I guess my suggested recommendation would be is when we impose the condition that we still use the 7 to 7 to give you that flexibility if you need to operate longer than that. You can certainly only operate 8 to 4, but I think it makes sense to use the standards that are at least in our thing for purposes of that time limit.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Kim.
I just want to thank the Humane Society for the services that they offer to the community as a whole. I know many, many people that count on you and your services, and especially, you know, in the difficult subject of end of life. And I know from many people that I know, I have not had to go there yet. But anyway, I know that what a comforting place you make it for them. So thank you so much for all you guys do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the hearing and ask for a motion on this.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, and that's with the stipulations as presented earlier with the uses.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you, Kim.
I'll second.
Okay, call for a vote. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you. Okay, next up on our agenda, number 9, is bids and quotes. 2023 CDBG Sidewalk Project Phase 2 Contract Award. That's Rob? Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. On April 3rd, 2023, a public bid opening was held here at the township for the sidewalk replacement project, Phase 2. Bids were received as follows. Amendola Construction and Maintenance, $276,900. Blue Rock Construction, $317,800. Lindy Paving Incorporated, $236,925. Mad Creek Construction, LLC, $262,625. M&B Services, LLC, $392,420.08. Presque Isle Concrete, $273,375. Vavla Concrete Construction, $322,874. And Empire Snow Management Incorporated, $218,000 or $218,905. Empire Snow Management was the apparent low bidder prior to this meeting. They did withdraw their bid, so I would recommend awarding this project to the second place bidder, which was Lindy Paving Incorporated, for the price of $236,925. And monies for this project are coming from a community development block grant.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Any questions or comments on this contract award?
I'll
I'll
make
make
a
a-
motion to approve.
And I'm going to second.
Okay, Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Scheduling software. Chief Mook.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm seeking approval for the township to enter into a contract with Power DMS in order to utilize their digital police scheduling software program called Power Time. The annual subscription cost is $4,158. There's a one-time setup charge of $2,300, and this would be paid for under the police budget software maintenance. For several years now, the township, with the exception of the police department, has operated with a digital scheduling payroll system called Kronos. Due to the nature of police scheduling with 24/7 staffing coverage requirements, Kronos was not a good fit for our scheduling needs. Recently, our staff participated with Assistant Treasurer Melanie Page in the evaluation of PowerTime, and we found that this product fits our needs very well. Power DMS is already the provider of our police document management system. The PowerTime product is a sole source proprietary police scheduling product, thus no quote or bid process is needed. I recommend that our antiquated and time-consuming paper scheduling system at the police department be replaced with the PowerTime computer scheduling system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carter. So is this a system that's going to be, you referenced Kronos, is this going to be utilized by all of the officers as a time management where they enter their leave, et cetera, or is this more
Yes,
for?
they can do that. We can schedule hearings, we can schedule trainings. If there's a sick call off, we don't need to pull the supervisor away from the street in order to come in here and retype a paper schedule for the next shift, for example. That can be handled via an app on a phone. So it's going to streamline our scheduling system and also be less of a strain on our manpower.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Also, too, it's my understanding that the system's output will be able to be imported into Kronos to actually generate the payroll. So it'll save a lot of time reviewing that manual entry that happens today.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there a motion for approval of this new scheduling software?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Electric chain hoist. Rob?
The garage is seeking approval to purchase a new 1-ton capacity electric chain hoist. This hoist is to replace an existing hoist that recently failed and is not worth repairing due to its age. One quote was obtained from Northern Tool for the price of $3,299.99. Funds for this will be taken from the contingency line of the fleet maintenance capital budget. It is my recommendation to purchase this hoist from Northern Tool for the price of $3,299.99.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve this purchase?
So moved.
Okay,
And I'll second.
thank you. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Pickup truck. Rob?
The Streets Department is seeking approval to purchase a new four-wheel drive, a Chevy four-wheel drive 3500 HD crew cab dually pickup truck with a utility body. Truck 145 has reached the end of its useful life and will be traded in with a value of $1,500. This vehicle will be purchased from Hallman Chevrolet for a price after trade of $64,433 under CoStar's contract 25-109. Funds for this will be taken from the 4x4 3500 HD truck line of the Streets Department capital budget, leaving a balance of $15,567. It is my recommendation to purchase this truck from Hallman Chevrolet for the CoStar's price of $64,433.
Okay, any questions or comments on this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Bridge Preservation Project. Rob?
The Erie Metropolitan Planning Organization has identified Millcreek Township bridges that are eligible for a preservation treatment. These bridges are Zimmerly Road Bridge, Gary's Road Bridge, and the Evans Road Bridge. Total cost for this work is $294,900, but there's only a 5% match that is required by the township, totaling $14,475. Funds for this will be taken from the contingency line of the Streets Department capital budget. I would highly recommend entering into this agreement, as this is a tremendous opportunity to extend the life of 3 of our bridges.
Okay, and this is an agreement with the Erie MPO?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next up is ordinance 2023-3, an ordinance of the Township of Millcreek, Erie County, Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 102, Sewers and Water, Article 3, Sewer Rentals of the Millcreek Township Code. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, ordinance 2023-3 will amend the current sewer ordinance. Section 102.23 of the sewer rental ordinance sets forth quarterly rental rates and charges for services rendered by the township for its sewer system. However, pursuant to 53 PS Section 67-511A, the Board of Supervisors is permitted to adopt a quarterly rental fee by resolution, and it is the current practice of the Board of Supervisors to do that quarterly sewer rental fee by resolution. This ordinance will simply amend Section 102-23H of the current sewer rental ordinance to provide that sewer rates are fixed by resolution adopted by the Board of Supervisors. Currently, it specifies a certain dollar amount. It makes more sense to follow the state law that allows doing it by resolution each year, so that we wouldn't have to amend the ordinance every year to reflect the current rates. So the recommendation would be to adopt this ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2023-3?
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Properties located at 2055, 2103, 2155, and 2209 Edinburgh Road, consisting of approximately 4.6 acres, now zoned R3, moderate density residential, asking for portions of the properties to be classified as C2 regional commercial. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, this ordinance simply formally amends the zoning code to reflect the rezoning of parcels located on 2055, 2103, 2155, and 2209 Edinburgh Road, as you indicated, consisting of approximately 4.6 acres from R3 moderate density residential to C2 regional commercial. This rezoning, if you recall, was applied for and approved at the Supervisors' public meeting on April 11th of 2023. The process, as you recall, is that someone comes in asking for rezoning, the board reviews it, and if it approves, we then proceed to create an ordinance reflecting that amendments and that zoning change in the zoning ordinance. So this is simply following that procedure, and the recommendation would be to approve ordinance 2023-4.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2023-4 as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, looks like we have 2 new or amended ordinances under review. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, first is the fireworks ordinance amendment. The Chief of Police has recommended that we implement these restrictions on the use of consumer fireworks between 10 p.m. and 10 a.m., except for certain specified dates. This would follow an amendment of the state law amending or recharacterizing the times allowed for setting off of fireworks and giving municipalities the authority to impose those limits. We hopefully, I believe, will have this available for our next meeting. Secondly, the subdivision and land development ordinance as part of is being developed. As part of the adoption of the comprehensive plan, it was recommended that the township update the subdivision and land development ordinance And as you're aware, the township adopted its new zoning ordinance in April of 2022. And since that time, the Township Planning and Development Department has been working towards a new saldo. The ordinance is still a work in process, but in the next few weeks, it will be presented to the board and the public for review and consideration. Like the zoning ordinance, the saldo must be adopted in accordance with the requirements of the municipality's planning code, which requires comment periods, public hearings before the Planning Commission as well as before the Board of Supervisors. The Planning and Development Department also anticipates holding at least 2 open houses or information sessions concerning the updated saldo prior to referring the saldo to the Board of Supervisors to begin the adoption process.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, next up, we have Resolution 2023 R15, a resolution of Millcreek Township, Erie County, Pennsylvania, to adopt the Erie County 2023 Hazardous Vulnerability Assessment and Mitigation Plan. Shallow?
Myself, Matt Waldinger, Matt Puz have worked with the Erie County Department of Planning and Community Development, the Department of Public Safety, and the other municipalities within the county to develop the new 2023 Hazardous Mitigation Plan. The plan was developed in accordance with the requirements by PEMA and FEMA, and both agencies have approved the plan for adoption. So at this time, I would recommend that we adopt this resolution to institute the 2023 Erie County Hazardous Mitigation Plan that will allow us to be eligible for state and federal funding for mitigation.
Okay, thank you, Shallow.
And Mr. Chair, I would note that this is a requirement by federal law that
Okay.
requires both state municipalities to, adopt these kinds of plans, and they've gone through, the county and the local municipalities have now gone through that process, gotten the approval from FEMA and PEMA to proceed, so the recommendation would be to adopt this resolution, or yes, adopt this ordinance, resolution.
Resolution. Okay, thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve, adopt Resolution 2023 R15 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may
go
I
ahead.
just publicly thank Shallon Anderson for all of the work that she does. Just so the township knows, she is not just a code enforcement officer, she is also in charge of our emergency management. And she does a fantastic job making sure that we are prepared here in Mill Creek in case of any emergency. And she works with so many different local stakeholders and municipalities to make sure that gets done. Shallon, thank you for all your work.
Thank you. And she's going to continue to work now. She has another commitment, a training commitment. Okay. Okay, next up is Resolution 2023 R16, a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015 R20 in the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. Request is from the chief. Do you want to cover it, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. Looks like we have some records from 2013 to 2020.
Correct.
Animal complaints.
Yes, they've reached they're past the time frame where we're required to keep those records, so just
Okay.
looking to clear up some space.
Okay. Very good, Chief. Is there a motion to approve this Resolution 2023
Motion to,
R16?
oh, sorry.
That's okay. We have a motion to approve. Is there a
Motion to
second?
approve.
Second.
Okay. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. We have another resolution, Resolution 2023 R17, which is the Arbor Day Proclamation. Okay, who's handling that? I guess it's me. Looks like I believe this is something we do annually. Yes.
Yes.
So this is Arbor Day Proclamation, Arbor Day Foundation, and just, when is Arbor Day this year?
April, oh wait, John, it's the 27th.
Tomorrow? It's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow. Oh, okay. Very good. Okay, any questions or comments on the Arbor Day proclamation? I'm not going to read it verbatim. It's, has to do with, obviously, the planting of trees and all the benefits that can come from that, and hopefully a lot of people plant trees tomorrow. So is there a motion to approve this resolution for the Arbor Day 2023?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Number 16 is Premier Turf Agreement Extension. Mark?
Yes, that time of year to renew what's become our annual agreement with Premier Turf, who is the professional golf course turf expert that the township has used to help maintain the grasses and greens and tees and so forth at the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center for the township. We've used Premier Turf since the course has reopened in 2018 and have been very happy with the work that they have done. The fee for this year is $13,100, which is actually a small decrease from last year's fee of by about $500. The recommendation would be to approve the agreement.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Is there a motion to approve this agreement with Premier Turf?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. We have a Millcreek Golf and Learning Center agreement extension. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, before you is an amendment to the 2020 agreement for provision of management and select maintenance services for Millcreek Golf and Learning Center. The agreement is with Dave Smith, who has been operating the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center since the 2020 golf season. The township's experience with Mr. Smith has been positive, and he's generated increased revenues to the township each year he's been in operation. Under this amendment, the term would be extended by 2 years and would go through the golf season of 2024 with a termination date set at October 15 of 2024. The recommendation would be to approve the agreement extension.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve this agreement extension with Mr. Smith for the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. We have a tax assessment settlement agreement with National Church Residences, Apple Blossom Place. Mr. Shaw?
Yes, this is a tax assessment appeal settlement involving property with an address of 5298 Crabapple Drive, Millcreek Township, and an Erie County tax ID number of 33-150-494.0-027.06. This property is operated under Section 202 of the Capital Advance of Housing Act. It's a HUD program designed to provide supportive housing for very low-income elderly individuals. HUD sets the rental amounts and requires regular deposits with the goal of a break-even operation. The marketability of this property is significantly impacted by HUD regulations. In some instances, taxing authorities often enter into pilot agreements for properties under these types of housing programs, but here they're proceeding to pay the taxes as assessed, and the property owner and the school district have agreed upon the following amounts for assessed values. In 2020, it'll be $495,550. In 2021, it'll be $517,200. In 2022, $520,960, and that same amount for 2023. Paragraph 6 of the settlement agreement provides that if there are or if there have been overpayments, the taxing bodies will simply credit that against future taxes. Therefore, a credit or any return monies would not be issued under this agreement. As indicated, the school district has requested that the township approve this settlement, and after reviewing the settlement circumstances, we recommend that the settlement be approved and that the solicitor be authorized to execute the settlement agreement.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any questions or comments on this tax assessment settlement agreement with National Church Registries?
None here.
And I should say that Mark Zachewski has reviewed it and looked at it as well, so.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay,
Make a motion to approve?
thank you, Kim.
I'll second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. Next up, appointment of township engineer. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Following the untimely passing of Township Engineer Ann Sokol in December, the township engaged the firm of Burgess and Nyepel to act as the appointed township engineer while it searched for a permanent replacement. With the hiring of Robert Rodemoyer to fill that position, he should be officially appointed to perform the duties of township engineer. First, I would like to thank Burgess and Nyepel for their assistance over the past few months. They've been very great to work with, and we appreciate their assistance. With that, I would recommend to the board that they appoint Robert Rodemoyer as the designated township engineer for 2023, effective May 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Matt. And I understand that Rob Rodemoyer has been here on a part-time basis.
Correct. He was employed on a part-time basis through the end of May, when he will start full-time June 1st, but he has been in on a weekly basis to work here in the office.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the appointment of Rob Rodemoyer as the township engineer?
So moved.
And I'll second.
Okay, Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. We have a sidewalk deferral request for 5308 Old French Road. Jason and Rachel Wedekin, developer. Matt?
Thank you. Yes, the Wedekins are proposing to build a new home at 5308 Old French Road. They have requested a sidewalk deferral. At this time, there are no sidewalks existing in the area. It's between Old French Road, which is State Route 97, and Evans Road. Neither of those roadways have a sidewalk. I believe that they propose to access off of Old French Road, which is a state route. So at this time, it would be the recommendation of the Planning and Development Department to grant the sidewalk deferral. And again, as a reminder to the board, deferral does not mean that they are released from their obligation. It just means that they don't have to do it until such time as there are sidewalks on adjacent properties.
Okay, this was a new construction?
Yes.
A new residence was
Yes.
built there? Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve this sidewalk deferral request?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. We have a Fire and Emergency Medical Service Commission Citizen Representative appointment. Dan, you want to handle that?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
With the recent resignation of a citizen representative to the Fire Commission, I am requesting the appointment of Scott Height to fill that vacancy. Mr. Height's experience in the public safety sector will make him an asset to the Fire Commission. I'll do that in the form of a motion.
That name sounds familiar, Mr. Height.
I heard of him.
Yeah. I haven't seen him much since he left, laying low. Okay,
And I'll second.
thank you. Mrs. Clear? Call for a vote.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, communications, treasurer communications, Mark?
Yes, when we first started the process of moving the merchant account from, this is the account that's used by Millfair for credit card receipts at the recycling center, moving it from PNC to Erie Bank personnel suggested that we look into using their processor. And after doing some investigation, switching to Erie Bank will save money for Millfair and bank fees, and also it will streamline how it can integrate easily into the current POS system, and will just make handling that account that much easier. There's a variety of issues with PNC. The agreement was reviewed by the solicitor. Obviously, these things always forget to put the right to know stuff in there. So that had to be added, and I think you did something with venue and things like that. So my recommendation is to a board to approve the agreement and sign it, and we'll get that process rolling.
I have a question. It says Synovus Bank.
It's just the
Who's
process.
Synovus is Erie?
No,
No.
it's who they use to process credit card payments, just like PNC is using
Okay.
Vanta or Advanta or something like that.
Okay, so this agreement is with Synovus Bank?
Yes, but they are the processor for Erie Bank.
Okay. I just don't see Erie Bank referenced anywhere in this, so it's in the original, because this is an addendum. So it's in the original agreement, part of it, or do we know?
I don't know. Lydia?
Hello.
Hello, everyone. There was a packet that Mr. Gosh, I know your last name, Mark. Zaszewski provided that has an Erie Bank cover sheet, and it is the application that we complete, and then part of that are the application terms and conditions for the Synovus Bank.
Okay. Excellent.
So,
Thank you for that clarification. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I would also, as part of that motion, make it subject to any final, negotiations of terms that might occur that are inconsequential. In other words, they may come back and say, well, we'd rather do this,
Okay.
type of thing. So so that we don't have to bring it back to the board.
Okay. Motion to approve with those stipulations as stated by Attorney Shaw. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Okay. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. We have a training request from the chief, Chief
Yes.
Mook. Okay.
Two requests. The first, I'm requesting approval to send 6 detectives. Lieutenant Fallon, Sergeant Parmenter, Detective Bolash, Detective Buckner, Detective Fennell, and Detective Katerna to the Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children course being held at the Sheraton Erie Bayfront Hotel on May 24th. The purpose of the course is an opportunity to learn firsthand from experienced professionals regarding the handling of human trafficking investigations. There is no cost to attend the training, and because of the location, there are no travel costs either. The second request, I'm seeking approval to send Detectives Green and Buckner to a 2-day firearms trafficking investigations course, May 4th and 5th at the Allegheny County Police Training Academy. This course is sponsored by the Ohio High Drug Trafficking Area Organization, and there is no fee to attend the course. The course will prove beneficial in Green's new role as the department's gun violence investigator and in Buckner's role in the Special Investigations Unit. There are some travel costs associated. Hotel stay $520. However, those costs will be reimbursed by HIDA after the course has been completed. So the true costs to the township are the per diem and estimated fuel and toll costs totaling $392.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Is there a motion to approve these 2 training requests as presented?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
I vote yes. And we have a Erie Chamber Harrisburg trip.
Yes.
Kim, did you want to cover this?
Sure
or-
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. So the Erie Regional Chamber and Growth Partnership is actually hosting a trip to Harrisburg next week, and on May 2nd and May 3rd. And the purpose of this coalition that has been asked to go down is for business leaders and legislators to meet with stakeholders, other legislators at the state and federal level, as well as business leaders throughout the Commonwealth in Harrisburg. And they are hosting the event, and there will be important projects that we'll be able to talk about. I think it's an honor that Millcreek Township was asked to be among the few that are going on this. I believe that there are 20 of us in all that are going to be going. So we will be able to advocate for Millcreek Township and see what other access we have to additional grant funding for all kinds of stuff.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay.
So I guess I don't think I can make my own motion. I don't know.
Go ahead. Is there a motion to approve?
And the cost is $500 for the stay and meals.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay. Mrs. Clear?
Yes.
Mr. Olet?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Next up, executive sessions were held on April 14th, April 20th, and April 27th. On April 14th, that was to discuss real estate matters relating to parks and rec facilities and utility easements, personnel matters regarding union matters, litigation, orphans court petition, state court lawsuit, and ordinance enforcement matters. On April 20th, real estate matters relating to parks and rec facilities, utility easements were discussed, litigation regarding contract dispute, federal lawsuit, right to know appeal, orphans court petition, ordinance enforcement matters. And on the 27th, real estate matters relating to parks and rec facilities and utility easements, litigation related to ordinance enforcement matters, orphans court petition, and right to know appeal. Solicitor communications. Anything further, Mr. Shaw?
No, nothing further on my end.
Okay. Citizens to be heard, or citizen, singular, to be heard. You know where to find us after the meeting. Anyone wishing to speak? Okay. All right.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
Okay. I vote yes on that. We are adjourned at 6:02 p.m.